Welcome everybody, hope you're doing well. Welcome back to this week's episode of the weekly HOScale newsletter recap for August 11th, 2025. If you're new to this series, this is where we take a look at a variety of product updates and announcements from various HOScale manufacturers. As always, before we get into things, do me a favor and subscribe if you have not done so already. It is completely free and does help to make me a few dollars, so thank you very much. Like the video if you enjoyed as well, and drop me a comment if you're interested in anything we talk about here today, or if you just would like to chat. Love talking with everybody. I have also recently moved as well, so this is my first recording in the new location, so I'm looking to fine-tune the audio settings, but hopefully this video sounds just fine. But let's go ahead and start this week with Rapido. And as you can see, Rapido has put out their August 2025 newsletter. There's a little bit of a table of contents if you haven't read those already during the intro. Here's another product shot of the Enterprise covered hopper that recently arrived. We took a look at these as well a few newsletters ago, as well as their CF7 samples. So here's a recap of those if you missed the prior videos. I do think these look absolutely fantastic. Love the details on them. These are going to go pretty much head to head with the Atlas releases once those arrive next year. I believe late next year is their estimated delivery timeframe. They'll be a little bit cheaper with a little bit less details, it seems, but still a very good option to see more CF7s make it to the community. Was corrected in my last video. It seems like there's more CF7s in plastic than I originally remembered, but no worries there. Here's a recap of Rapido's schemes once again, with a couple of those unlettered versions at the bottom for you to customize as you please. Rapido's also putting out their second volume of the Cars of Via in their Heritage Fleet series. Here's a little bit of backstory and some nice pictures of the team. So if you're interested in picking up that book as well to go with volume 1, you can go ahead and order that as well. And just a quick reminder, if you haven't seen it before, Rapido does have a US website and a Canada or rest of world website as well, so they do have two separate links in their newsletter as well as on their website. Moving on to some more orders that they recently reopened for more orders, the FAs and FBs. The second run of them didn't have as many pre-orders as they anticipated, so they have extended the order deadline to October 15th. Here's some of the models from the previous release. I think they look absolutely fantastic. Love the details on these models. I don't have any of my own. I would eventually like to grab some. Just more detailed shots of these models and some renders here of the upcoming run. I think these also look great. There's some rear shots. Some of them are offered as A-B sets or exclusively as A units. There's a shout out on the Long Island Railroad versions they're doing, as well as the X SPNS. More grill shots, and the full list of features, and a reminder of all of the different paint schemes. All the models here that you see with a B unit, of course, are offered with the B unit, and then the ones at the bottom there are just offered as A units. And you can also order directly from the Spokane, Portland, and Seattle Railway Historical Society for the specific number 857 with its unique paint scheme if you'd like to support them as well. Moving on to the September order deadline, some models we talked about a little bit ago as well. They're HOScale Canadian LRVs, a Toronto classic, as well as in some other big cities as well. Order deadline is September 15th. This does have a 5% early bird discount if you order directly from Rapido. Here's a reminder of the different paint schemes. You can see a lot of the Toronto schemes, and we have a few different other larger US cities. And then once we get down here, we have the happy birthday schemes as well, which are pretty unique. And the second pre-order deadline in September are the N-Scale CTA 2600 series cars. Same pre-order date of September 15th with a 5% discount directly through Rapido. Here's a reminder of those paint schemes. They are the same as the HOScale versions. I do have two of those on pre-order with the sort of modern CTA scheme, which I have seen most frequently. Reminder, in N-Scale they are also offered as a 4-car set, which is neat, which is exclusive to N-Scale. HO-Scale is only the 2-car sets. Rapido also published a Q&A with Jason on the Canadian. They talked about some interesting things there, including more Metra cars coming, of course, with some different schemes as well offered. Here's a little bit of sales information, a lot of US orders frequently from them. All of the Canadian modelers, they recommend putting your orders in so that they're able to make more exclusive Canadian models to make sure that those sell, especially their Canadian rolling stock. So just a heads up for you, go ahead and get your pre-orders in if you're able to, so that they can continue to offer those models. A model that also arrived recently, the H1644s. I know they've been a few years coming. Really excited to see them finally make it. We took a look at the samples of those a few weeks ago as well. Additionally, their PAs and PBs, these also look incredible, just like their FAs and FBs. And the Procore GP20 tanks also arrived as well. Unboxing videos of all of those are on their YouTube channel. Here's some customer photos of some of their models. The FL9's looking great. And the RDCs. And a very nice night shot of a 44-tonner. Very nice trestle layout there in N-Scale. Quick reminder of some shows that Rapido will be at as well. They'll be over at the New Haven Railroad Historical and Technical Association's reunion in September, as well as the Mid-Atlantic RPM meet, the Colorado Rail Proto meet, very popular as well, near the end of September. And now on to some arrival updates, always exciting here. Here's a quick list of everything that's currently available and shipping soon. Those GP40s hopefully should be arriving mid-August, so maybe next week or two. Very excited to see those make their way. I do hope to also pick up some of the ballast hoppers. I think those look fantastic, just need to fit those into the budget as well. E8's also on their way, and the Rio Grande steel riveted caboose also caught my eye as well. Would like to grab some of those. Those Super Continental Line passenger cars, I have their 2 20th anniversary cars on pre-order as well. Those should be showing up in November. Here's some factory production samples, and in this case the arrived models of the PAs. Here's the Santa Fe repowered versions, as well as Union Pacific and GM&O. I missed out originally on the Southern Pacific versions of these in the daylight scheme. I've been seeing those pop up in some YouTube videos and Instagram content I've been seeing. Would eventually like to grab some. And the GP40s coming up, I do have this exact one on order, the CN3103, and an IC version as well. The Fast 40s there. There's the Illinois Central version. Very excited to see those show up. Here's some details of the RF&P that look pretty nice, as well as the slug versions. Here's a Union Pacific and MKT. The slugs are fully powered, which is very nice. Some of the fan shots, Canon & Company licensed fans on all Rapido models, and some shots of the 44-tonners that we took a look at as well in a prior newsletter. Really like the trolley poles on the Pacific Electric here. But all these look fantastic. It's their second run, I believe, of these 44-tonners. Moving on to the SD9s and SD10s. Love the chop noses, as well as more shots of those Enterprise covered hoppers, with a few different road names available. And just a couple more. They just keep coming. Definitely grab these if you have the chance. But that's all we do have from Rapido this week. They're teasing some new announcements in August in their next newsletter, so I'm excited to see what those might be. But that's all here. We'll go ahead and move on over to Bowser next. And moving on to Bowser's newsletter, we do have a new product announcement, that being real coal loads for a variety of different manufacturers. They are just the 3D printed base with real coal on top of it, so it's pretty neat, gives you that nice texture. You'll see 2 packs of these are coming in at $10.95 each, But as I scroll down through here, like I mentioned, you'll see different manufacturers called out, so different Bowser versions up at the top. But we'll get into Intermountain and AccuRail, as well as Walthers and Athearn down at the bottom. So it's really cool, nice to see them making this available to a variety of different manufacturers' products. That's definitely going to increase their sales quite a bit. I think this is really neat. It's a pretty affordable price for this sort of real coal load as well. And we also have a surprise release of N5C cabooses with the Pennsylvania Railroad's early scheme. I have seen some comments that the colors aren't quite accurate, but I'm not a Pennsy expert, so please let me know if you notice it as well. But this is also in stock alongside the rest of their N5s and N5C cabooses that recently arrived as well. But that's all we have here from Bowser's newsletter. Let's take a quick look at some new product shots from them as well. And also from Bowser, we have some new product samples of their C415s. We have the Alco Sentry on the left, a gorgeous Burlington Northern version in the middle. I've got my eye on that one for sure. And Southern Pacific on the far right. The color isn't quite right on the Southern Pacific model. The gray is just a little bit too light. I'll show you a correction that they posted in just a second here. But just another second of looking at these. I think they look absolutely fantastic. Nice details overall, so I'm excited to see these deliver once they do as well. And here is in particular that Southern Pacific model. That production sample that we just saw is on the right, and the correct gray color is on the left from what they had sent over to be produced, and that's what we received from the factory over there on the right. So they will be going ahead and fixing that, of course, to make sure that color is right. So that's why they do these production samples, to make sure the final models do come out correct. So good that they catch that. The scarlet is also not quite right either, so they'll also be correcting that color in the final model. But that's all we have here from Bowser. We'll go ahead and move on over to Kato once again. And moving on to Kato, we talked about a few of these models last week, but we did get an official newsletter, so I just wanted to scroll through here in case I missed any of the details of some new hoscale announcements coming from them. First up, the Viewliner 2 Sleepers. We took a look. They're also offering more Viewliners we'll get to as well. Here are the Diners, as well as the Baggage Dorms. Here's a quick list of those model features. They can be illuminated with their interior light package as well. And marker lights, very nice to see those. My favorite of that announcement, of course, F40 PHs are returning to Kato's HO lineup. 2 different schemes and only 2 row numbers are offered. There's some history there and then some of the features. They are available with DCC sound. It is quite a bit more expensive than DCC ready, at double the cost MSRP. And something I didn't catch before as well, but more Amtrak Superliners are also coming to the Kato lineup. So there's a quick list of those and their model features. Similar to the Viewliners, they're offered with interior lighting as well, so you can go ahead and install that aftermarket. And they do also have rotating bearing caps, which is something that I don't see too often from Kato, but making its way into different manufacturers all across the hoscale world now. But that's all we have here from Kato. We'll go ahead and move on over to Athearn next. Moving on to Athearn's Dispatcher, what they call their newsletter here from the past week. An update on some models arriving in mid-late August. The hoscale moguls that we talked about last week are in this shipment, alongside these Genesis PS2 2893 3-bay covered hoppers. These are the hoscale versions. They also have N-scale of the exact same road names also arriving. And back in hoscale in their standard Athearn line, they have mid-century era tank cars, offered as singles and 4-packs. A model currently in stock that just delivered are their Genesis Trinity 5161s. Intermountain also had theirs just delivered in very similar schemes, so I would like to do a comparison if I have the chance to pick some of both of those up. In their Train Tuesday, they talked about their Bethgon coal porters, so you can check that out on their YouTube channel. And that's all we have here from Athearn. We'll go ahead and move on over to Broadway Limited quickly next. And next up from Broadway Limited, not a new announcement, just something I forgot to cover last week in their new announcement of de-skirted GS4s. If I scroll down here on their website page, you'll see that of course they're doing the American Freedom Train version. This is the 1975 appearance of the locomotive, offered with Paragon 4, DCC sound, or DCC ready. That does have a speaker installed as well. That wasn't in their newsletter, which I was kind of surprised, and I forgot to call it out specifically. And here's a reminder of some of the fantasy paint schemes that they're doing as well. And at the very bottom there, something that also wasn't in the newsletter, there are 2 Trainworld exclusives as well. A Western Pacific in their green, gray, orange, and the aluminum and orange, also Western Pacific as well. So that's all of the GS4s now announced here from Broadway Limited. I just wanted to make sure I covered them here on the channel. Well, that's all we have here. We'll go ahead and move on over to ScaleTrains. And next up from ScaleTrains, first up, just a reminder of their pre-order pledge and the benefits of pre-ordering directly from ScaleTrains if you're interested in doing that. They have a YouTube video on that process as well. Reminder of some models in stock. They're Thrall 48-foot 2-hood coil cars with some of the mismatched hoods that we've seen before. Here's some of the history on these cars if you're interested as well. And the model features and all of the different road names and paint schemes. This first list is all of the limited schemes and then the sold out at the bottom. Additionally, their most recent run of ES44s restocked their Norfolk Southern Heritage Gevos. I have 4 of those. I'm very happy with the ones I have so far. I don't know if I will eventually complete the collection. I'm very happy with the ones I do have. But I would recommend, if you've been trying to hunt those down for quite a while, to try to pick one up if you're able to. Here's a reminder of some of the different features across the models, as well as all of the models in this ES44 run that are now in stock. I did pick up the X City Rail patched for CN version. Very happy with that. My first factory patched locomotive, and still having a good time with that one. And also restocked are the 25th anniversary BNSF units, as well as the different CSX Armed Forces, First Responders, and Law Enforcement units. Additionally, in N-Scale, more SD40T-2s are now in stock as pre-orders expired last Friday. There's some of those schemes. Still happy with my HO scale versions, of course. There's some prototype details and some information on the road names and paint schemes in this N-Scale run. Reminder of pre-orders due in 2 weeks from the date of this posting. The recently announced Operator Series Multi-Max Auto Racks. There's those paint schemes of most of the Class 1 railroads going by there. These do have the molded-in grab irons that were first announced in this series of the Operator coal gondolas as well, the silver sides. Reminder, they're also doing these in the Rivet Counter series as well. Additionally, their next run of ES44s are also open for pre-order, including the final CSX Heritage units and some more Class 1 roads as well, including that CBKC unit. Here's some history on the Seaboard Airline CSX Heritage unit, if you're interested as well, and its specific features, and a quick list of all the ES44s in this next run. Also due for pre-orders are more new announcements. They're heavyweight passenger cars. These are XMTH tool cars, now released in the Fox Valley Models tooling. There's a couple brand new tooled models for ScaleTrains in this run that they haven't done before. You'll see called out here in red with the all-new tooling, but it looks like it does match the old MTH tooling from what I can tell. There's those different road names and paint schemes offered here. Broadway Limited also announced new heavyweights as well, so take your pick from all the various heavyweights offered in the market now. Here's a spotlight on their 284 Berkshires also offered. XMTH tooling once again, now in the Fox Valley Models line. Here's some information on their upgrades from MTH, as well as all the road names and paint schemes, of course including the excursion versions of the Nickel Plate Road 765 and Pierre Marquette 1225. Pre-orders are also due for their next run of GP40s. These are actually the models in their first run shown on screen here. I do have the Milwaukee Road version. I'm probably going to hunt down a Rio Grande version eventually as well. But here is a reminder of the history on the Rock Island locomotives in this next release, as well as all the road names and paint schemes that are correct for this upcoming release. I do have my eye on another Burlington Northern unit, maybe 1 or 2. They do have some nice paint scheme variations between the models. N-scale versions as well, also arriving next spring if you'd like to grab those. And the team will be in Austin at the train show on August 23rd and 24th, so go ahead and check them out if you're in the area. And a billing update for some upcoming models. Most importantly, those GP30s, including the GP39Es from Burlington Northern. They recently posted a YouTube spotlight on that locomotive, doing a demo of all those sounds and lights. Looks really nice, so I'm excited to see those deliver. As well as the Trinity and Thrall High Cube boxcars, both rivet counter models, and an S-scale wood reefer. Nice to see them still offering some S-scale models from time to time. That's all we do have here in the newsletter. One other quick thing I'd like to point out is that their ET44s for CPKC, the X-Baffin units that were recently due for pre-orders, they did have a change in some of the features. The first 5 units do not have ground lights, and the final 3 units do. So I initially had my order in for the models without ground lights and switched that over to the models with ground lights installed because I just like that factory installed feature. So just a heads up, would check and see if that is important to you, and go ahead and adjust your pre-order as well. That's all we do have from ScaleTrains. We'll go ahead and move on over to Walthers. And moving on to Walthers' newsletter from the past week, starting off with a spotlight from BLI on their recently announced ES44 ACs, both HO and N-scale. They've got some of the CSX Heritage units, as well as this new Florida East Coast scheme, which I do think is quite sharp. I still do like the old red and yellow. I'm not sure what that scheme is called, but still a fan of that. Pre-orders still open for their Gunderson 48-foot well cars in their Proto series. These do have the full die-cast bodies, which I think is very nice. But you can still pre-order those. I believe those are due later this year. RD4s, their coal hoppers, also in stock. Available both as individuals and 3-packs. You can also pick up their Cornerstone coal flood loader kit to go along with those. Both of those are now in stock. Reminder of their trading card series, the Titans of Steel, that they recently announced as well. All the information is available on their website on how to play that game and get involved in that if you're interested. Another model in stock in their mainline series, the 50-foot AAR single-door boxcars in a variety of paint schemes. If you'd like to check that out. In N-scale, Walthers has some of Atlas's GP60s, if you'd like to grab them from Walthers. And another reminder of Bowser's recently delivered PRR Class N5 and N5C cabooses, also available here from Walthers, but also available from Bowser if you'd like to grab some of those. We took a look at all those paint schemes about 2 weeks ago, if you'd like to check out all of those in this new release. Well, that's all here from Walthers. We'll go ahead and move on over to Bachmann. And moving on to Bachmann's newsletter, a spotlight here on their HO scale SD40-2s and some new paint schemes for Bachmann. Here's a quick history lesson on the SD40-2s, of course very popular. These are available with Econami. Here's a quick list of the new paint schemes for Bachmann, including that Bicentennial Milwaukee Road scheme, and some up-close shots of both of those. And some reruns of new road numbers for Bachmann of some previously done paint schemes from their SD40-2s. And a quick list of all the features here. And just some new model updates on the McKinley Explorer cars. These are some nice passenger cars here if you'd like to grab them from Bachmann as well. These were recently announced, and these are the first samples that we saw after being announced at the National Train Show last month. But that's all here from Bachmann. We'll go ahead and move on over to some updates from Atlas. And now on to a couple updates from Atlas. First up, some models in transit in a variety of scales that should be arriving this week. First up in the Z scale, we have a double plug door boxcar. Not often we see that. Some locomotives and rolling stock here in N scale on their way. And a single model in HO, the GP7s. And then a couple here in O, including the 280s and some passenger cars, as well as the O-scale auto racks. Just an update for you, these models should be on their way. And now on to some product spotlights from Atlas. First up, the U23Bs in HO scale. Here's a quick history on those locomotives. These models are offered both in their silver line and gold lines with the Locksound 5 decoder already installed. They did review that model on a live stream as well if you're interested. Here's a quick recap of those paint schemes offered in this run. Some of them are new to Atlas. We did cover all of those and the prices and all the details a few weeks ago as well when they were announced. And additionally from Atlas, they also announced a new run of their MP36s, including some new non-Metra schemes. A little bit of history here on those locomotives. And they also announced new Nippon Chariot passenger cars, really neat to see, with some fantasy schemes as well there at the bottom in their collector's series. There's those new schemes. I do hope they do fix the headlight colors on the models. That's the reason I skipped the first Metra release of these, but hopefully it sounds like they've gone ahead and corrected that for this new release. But there's a quick look at those schemes now coming in the next run of MP36s. But that's all the news and updates I have for you this week. I do hope you enjoyed. As always, if you did make it this far, do consider subscribing. It is completely free and does help me to make a few dollars, so I do really appreciate it. Thank you very much. Like the video if you enjoyed as well, or just want to help out the algorithm. And drop me a comment if you liked anything we talked about here today, or if you have anything new on your own layout. Just love chatting with everybody. But thanks again, and I hope you have a great rest of your week.